Hey, I feel like this game got pretty easily overlooked. For those unaware, this is Sakura Wars. Sakura Wars is one of Sega's oldest franchises, originally debuting back on the Sega Saturn, which the fact that this franchise debuted on the Sega Saturn should probably tell you the widespread success of this game. This game acts as a reimagining of them, however, bearing in mind that the original game was actually more of a tactical RPG akin to Fire Emblem. Now, as a person who is at least tangentially aware of many of Sega's franchises, hearing that this game was being made was a mixed feeling of wishing that it was like those, or just a re-release and translation of the originals. Not, this. But the game has its merits. This game instead is a weird beat-em-up character action game. Actually, forgive me, because I don't like using that term because it sounds stupid. Spectacle fighter. The premise, even the setup, like literally the opening cutscene is almost identical to the first game in the series. But the actual meat of the gameplay is very different. What was interesting about this at the time was that it features dating sim visual novel sort of gameplay, which in hindsight means that it was actually ahead of the curve when it comes to Fire Emblem, where Fire Emblem began introducing concepts of borderline being a dating simulator after, like, the 3DS era of games. What's interesting about this one, though, is it really doubles down on the idea of it being a dating simulator, whereas Fire Emblem is just kind of teasing you with it. You have to engage in visual novel dialogues with people, and you have to pick the right options within a set amount of time. And there's even some that allow you to answer with an analog-controlled degree of intensity. But the biggest thing is that the combat is very, it drags. After playing games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, this one feels almost uneducated. It's not fully fleshed out. There are things that they could have done but didn't do. The most exciting part of it is the fact that you have a dodge roll, which at this point is standard issue. If you time your dodge, if I can get it, it'll slow down time just like in Bayonetta. Yeah, see? One of my problems that I have with games like this are that oftentimes the events of the game are not affected by your choices in terms of the relationships that you try to forge. What I mean by that is, in this game, the protagonist, the only male character that you can play as, is often paired with the titular character on the title screen, or the box, Sakura. Now, me personally, I was not as interested in Sakura as I was interested in the red-haired character that I'm playing as right now. It's a bizarre feeling when you're playing a game, like this, where that sort of thing is very upfront and very much the focus of the game. The relationships and that sort of thing. And then when you're playing through the set story of the game and your protagonist, the one that you are trying to push to be invested in one character, is doing all these other things, all these other relationship-like actions, get-togethers, conversations with another character entirely. That feels almost... I don't want to use the word lazy. It almost feels like it's more like a lack of foresight. And then, if they did consider it, then it would be lazy. I would love to see them take these back to a tactical RPG thing, but on that same note, I would love to see them do that with Shining Force and go back to the tactical RPG sort of business. The Shining series that Sega has done has done many, many different gameplay styles, but the originals of Shining Force were tactical RPGs, and they were very interesting as a result. I would love to see them do that, but I imagine Sega, if they were to even consider having either of these be tactical RPGs, they wouldn't want both of them to be. And I get that. But if I had to have Sakura Wars be readapted in some way, I'd like one of three things. I'll keep it fairly simple. The visual novel things that they do are perfectly fine, very serviceable, and it has not changed much since the original games. It works well. Keep that. That's great. It's the gameplay we're talking about. Either A, literally just make it like the originals. B, get the guys who made Into the Breach to make it essentially just literally Into the Breach skinned as Sakura Wars, which would be crisp. Or, crazy idea, what if you got them to make a first-person sort of mech game, actually capitalizing on the game's premise? I'm telling you, I'm cooking out here, okay? I'm really sold on the idea of the Into the Breach thing personally, but if they want to commit to doing this sort of thing, I guess it's fine. On another note, I would be interested in seeing the developers of another game that I've just recently started playing potentially do Shining Force, or I guess this, if they were to do a tactical RPG. I'm playing a game called Redemption Reapers. It's been developed by a weird hodgepodge of people from a bunch of companies, a couple of ex-employees from Intelligent Systems making a tactical RPG with a Western focus. You know what that means. Everything is bland colors and black and white, borderline. The gameplay, though, is actually pretty solid to me. Now, granted, if you're someone who actually likes Fire Emblem and other tactical RPGs, I might not be the best person to give you this perspective because I'm not super hardcore about it. The only Fire Emblem games I've played are the Blazing Blade, Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, and Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, to be clear, when I say that, I mean those are the only games I've actually played to completion. Okay? I've played some of the other ones, I just haven't finished them. It is what it is. The gameplay is solid, and I may even do a video talking about it. I enjoy it. I'm out for the best interests of this company. I understand that Sega is trying to leverage their old IPs, and they're going for whatever they're going to do. And between this game being a thing in general and the potential Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi things, that was impressive on my part. Between this, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, stuff like that, they clearly are trying to do so, but I would find that there could be, this is going to come across as weird, but a certain hesitation with using certain IPs. When it comes to stuff like this, I'm sure somebody had an idea of what they wanted to do, and they went for it. I respect that. But I would think that if you wanted to pull from Sakura Wars or even like Shining Force, wouldn't you want to pull that if you were anticipating that you could break into the tactical RPG market? Like, wouldn't that be your first assumption? Not like, oh, you know what would be a great idea? We want to make a character spectacle fighter. You know what's the great IP that we could use for that? Sakura Wars. What? And this is the same company that also published Bayonetta, in part. Like, what? With the way this game is structured, because of how weak the combat portions are, in my mind, how borderline unserviceable they are, I honestly enjoy the sections when you're not in combat more, the parts where it's just like the dating sim sections. It's more fun. And maybe that's a crazy, insane hot take. But I can't help how I feel. One of the only other things about this that's kind of interesting is that there's a gauge above the characters that you're playing as. You see it, the numbered thing. As I recall, that is to do with basically how much you and your AI partners are working together. If you play as a team and take down enemies as a group, that gauge will go up. Now, I don't remember if it actually has an impact on, like, the amount of damage you do. I've got that feeling that it does, but I cannot say that with certainty. I feel what I'm thinking is that it literally just has to do with your score at the end, because it's a Sega game, of course you get scored. I think there's like a super move or something that you can do with your teammates too. Maybe with that. It's been a while since I played this. There was a time where I was actually trying to get all the achievements. I did not think that was going to be an S rank. I was half-heartedly playing that the whole time. Okay, we take those, but anyway. So, one of the achievements is to get these things called bromides. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce that. I don't think I've actually heard that word pronounced. Whatever. So it's literally just these little card photos. They're collectible. Of the characters, whatnot. As I said, one of the achievements is just getting all of them. Now, when you're playing through the game, you could literally just find them on the ground. And if you play through on a sort of New Game Plus thing, the game will actually alert you to them because you can miss them. That's important. You can miss them. There are bromides in this battle bot where you're supposed to essentially replay the stages from the main campaign. Now you'll notice, okay, very simple. You just complete stages 1 through 5, 6 through 10, fine, fine, fine. But here's the thing. Stage 1 through 5 is all the same stage, just with you using different characters. On top of that, there are bromides related to getting an A rank or better and an S rank on every stage with a given character. So, to get every bromide, it requires you to do every single one of these and getting an S rank. Now, I personally find that it's not really all that hard to do them, it's just time consuming. One of the cheats I saw of how to potentially get away with romancing every character. So there's an achievement that is associated to getting an ending with every character, because this is a game where when you romance a character, you do actually get different endings depending on which one you did. But here's the thing. There's a hard capped point right before the final chapter where you have to just pick one. And the conditions are simply just, you can pick whichever ones you have essentially maxed your relationship with. So theoretically, you could be a loser and actually just romance all of them, but when you get to that point, you're forced to pick one, which is fine. But here's the kicker. You could just pop a save right before you make that decision, and then after you complete the game and get the ending with the respective girl, reload the save, do it again with a different one, given that you have done a playthrough where you have romanced every single one of the romanceable NPCs. When I was playing through the game initially, I didn't do that because I wasn't thinking about it. I was just romancing her. But in this second New Game Plus thing where I'm trying to do essentially like achievements, cleanup, by getting all the bromides, I'm also trying to romance every single one of the NPCs for the sake of the achievement. I'm not happy about it because some of the NPCs that you romance in this are, they look like children. And that's not cool. Like, really? Like, that's a child. Come on, son. On the other hand, Sega. Come on now. Also neat is that they have bromides from the older games. Just a quiet reminder that this is not that game anymore. It's very different. One of the things that's kind of funny as a Yakuza fan playing this game is RGG Studio helped with this game in small ways. And you can tell because some of the animations, the like ambient, just default animations that happen during these sort of scenes are, I swear on my life, ripped straight from Yakuza in the same context where they just use animations that are reusable. So it's kind of funny because every now and then I'll see a character doing an animation that immediately just makes me go like, Majima, no! An addendum to the idea of the Into the Breach thing. Let's also get the writer for Love is War, the anime, the manga, to pen the story. I'm telling you, I'm cooking. Into the Breach devs making the game. Love is War guy, name on screen, writing the story. And keep these the same. Oh, this is the thing I was talking about. You can choose the amount of intensity. I'm gonna max it out. I guess that wasn't the wise decision. So in conclusion, let's get those Into the Breach guys. Let's get the Love is War guy. We'll cook. Honestly, it'd be really funny if, like, me just making this video caused somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody to, like, actually get that ball rolling. I tell you, if in, like, 3-4 years Sega comes out with what I've just described and nobody tells me about this happening, I'm suing. It was my idea. Don't take this from me. This is Sakura Wars. See ya.